having underwritten probably a few hundred multifamily deals now at this point in my investing career, the majority of the return goes to the passive investor. Like I feel like if you find a really highly qualified syndicator who knows what they're doing and aligns with your values, then if you want to just get return on your money, there's no shame in, putting your dollars to work with someone else who has built this into a business. So I'll tell you that my reason for choosing to first invest passively is because I got to see what communication looked like.
All right, guys, welcome again to another amazing episode. Today we have Mandy McAllister. Mandy is an amazing real estate professional. She also has medical sales background. Her LinkedIn says Mindset Ninja, eternal leader, investing enthusiast, mentor, and connector. So she has a lot of traits and a lot of things we can pick at. And I'm excited to hear she came from a recommendation from another previous guest. And she's recently closed a few multifamily deals from what I understand. Mm-hmm. So we'll dive into that, a little bit of her mindset and some actionable items into how you can also do it or be part of these types of investments. So Mandy, if you could start real quick, give us a quick rundown of your background and how you got into this, because you also have a W-2 job from what I understand, right?
I do, yeah. So I still, to this day, since 2006, I've been in medical device sales. As soon as I finished grad school, I started in medical device sales and always had kind of been curious about multifamily, investing in real estate in general. And it just so happens that, through all of my analysis paralysis and learning, the first asset that I ended up buying was a fourplex. So I saw that, oh my goodness, scale immediately. Let's never turn back to single family stuff. So I took down that first small multi in 2016 and kind of never looked back. But I'll tell you one thing I am pretty proud of is I just hit the dollars in from passive income that I need to see in order to replace my day job's income. So I'm now at the point where I'm going to be doing this day job as long as it's fun. So it's neat to kind of have that.
The option. You have an option. Mm-hmm. I love that. So you took the shackles off and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So that's great. So then let's talk a little bit about your recent deal. You closed on the deal?
Yep. So, went from that 4 to a 6 to like an 8 or something, and just kind of small multis, kind of all doing it by myself. And I knew I wanted to go bigger. So I ended up buying into a syndication to learn a little more about the ropes of the larger stuff. And from after that, I ended up partnering up with someone who his abilities are what I'm strong at, he's not the strongest at, and what he is strong at, I am not strong at. So it's a real, it's an excellent partnership in my opinion. And from that, we took down a 53 unit complex in the Indianapolis market in September of this year.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the steps of doing that and what prepared you for it. Is your strong suit more on the investing, on the raising capital? Is it more on the deal flow acquisition side? Are you more of a management type? Where's your expertise lie?
Yeah. So, I have a lot of hands-on experience managing my own stuff. I've handed over subsequently to property managers, but, excuse me, I know, kind of where things get held up, what turnover should look like, things like that. So the management stuff I've had a good bit of experience on, and I'm kind of he calls me the chatty Cathy. So I'm kind of the talker of us. And he is a commercial broker by training out of Chicago. So the thrill of the hunt for a deal is something that, gosh, he's got it in spades. So he's really great at making sure he's got a tremendous deal flow going for our team. And, I'm excited to build what we're building here with him.
No, that's awesome. That's really cool. And then let's talk a little bit more about how you went ahead and found that deal. It was Was that through a broker? Or was that off market?
So because my business partner is a broker by training, what he does for his day job is, sends out postcards and tries to get people to sell their buildings, right? So he sees the return on investment of building relationships with brokers because, instead of being the ones sending out the postcards, we now have all of these teams that are doing all of that work in a far more scaled way than we could ever pull off on our own. So our choice as it is right now is to build broker relationships. So that 53 unit came from a broker relationship.
No, that's great. And then, so let's talk a little bit more about what else you do, because I see you also do inspiring women achieve more, right? So you're also inspiring women. So what do you do in that aspect?
Oh man, I really believe that mindset is like at least 80%, maybe 90%, maybe even more of anything that you're doing. So if you are, if you tell yourself you're not ready for something, then you are not ready for it. If you decide you're ready for something, then, you will figure out a way to make it happen. And I've kind of always played in these boys clubs, so I was a professional trader and on the floor of the board of trade for my first job out of undergrad. And then after that, I did a master's in economics, also a boys club, and medical device sales, kind of a boys club, buying commercial real estate, for sure, a boys club. So, I think that, this Aspiring Women Achieving More was kind of born of some friends of mine and me who, we saw this need for women lifting up other women and a place to be inspirational to each other, to really share our wins. So, it kind of just started as a book club, morphed into a Facebook group. And now here we are 8 or 9 months later, and we've got 1,700 members, women that come to us daily for a little dose of inspiration.
Wow, that's really amazing right there. That's really cool. So where do you see yourself going in the next few months and years, short term, long term?
Yeah. So we did a bit of a kind of a goal setting session with my multifamily partnership for those indie deals. And we're all in agreement that we want to expand that footprint. We want to build this into a business and at some point venture outside of our joint venture box and bring on additional investors. So that's kind of one of the things I've been working on is networking with investors, figuring out what criteria makes sense, making sure that we have pre-qualified and established appropriate relationships for subsequent deals that we end up doing. At some point in the next couple of years, I highly suspect that I'll move into the real estate world full time. But like I said, I still love my medical device job and the people I work with. So I'll do that till it's not fun anymore.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So what actionable items can you give our audience as far as, hey, I did the fourplex thing, I did the residential thing, and now I want to go multifamily. And would you, because it's hard to go from passive to active investor, but what would you recommend for someone to figure that out on their own? What is their best strategy of going about, right?
I'll be honest that having underwritten probably a few hundred multifamily deals now at this point in my investing career, the majority of the return goes to the passive investor. Like I feel like if you find a really highly qualified syndicator who knows what they're doing and aligns with your values, then if you want to just get return on your money, there's no shame in, putting your dollars to work with someone else who has built this into a business. So I'll tell you that my reason for choosing to first invest passively is because I got to see what communication looked like. I got to see what reports looked like. I got to see what, types of returns and when returns happened and when I got my K1 and all of those things so that I kind of have a basis for expectation when I'm moving into syndication. But what I'll also tell you is I didn't want to mess with my liquidity because I knew that these small multis was kind of building a floor for my solely owned stuff, like a floor of passive income that was going to come in that I could depend on really kind of no matter what. That helped me figure that I can make the jump if I want into real estate full time. But the idea of, you kind of, it's not a bad idea to passively invest. I didn't want to mess with the liquidity. This is where I was going. I didn't want to mess with my liquidity. So I self-directed an IRA, because you can't invest those funds yourself in a syndication if you're the active syndicator, but you can self-direct IRA funds and put them with someone else as a passive investment. So it was a neat way to jump in, do the learning, and have all of my kind of active liquidity still available to me.
No, that is sweet. That's great. And how do you make it work with your partner, and how do you are you bringing on any other partners? How is that working?
As it stands right now, we're looking at assets that are a little bit smaller. Like if you've attended boot camps, whatever, like it makes the most sense to scale up over, call it 100 units, because you can afford your own property management. But right now, there's so many people looking at these super sizable deals that we've chosen to, we love the market that we're in. We love the strong population growth, GDP growth, job growth. What are we willing to give up so that we're a set of, a smaller pool looking at these deals? We've chosen to give up that size on individual deals. So we're looking at 50, 70-ish in there, unit deals. So for the time being, it's the three of us. It's this active general partnership, general joint venture that we're dealing with, taking down as many assets as we can to build that footprint. But we do see we're looking into other markets. We haven't made a real choice, but we're planning to. The next step is to take on investors.
Okay. And what does a good deal look like for you guys?
Yeah. So the model that we're looking for right now, and the kind of general syndication model is a little bit different, in my opinion. The three of us are very cash flow driven. You hear a whole lot about value add, right? So a lot of people are looking at that. So how can we, maybe give up a piece to be the fewer set of eyes looking at things? What we want is yield. What we want is built-in cash flow for a long time. Right. So this was a stabilized asset that we bought. It had already gone through the value add process. It was newly rehabbed by a team that did a really great job with a really strong reputation in the indie market. We bought it and ended up putting super long-term agency debt on it. It's a Fannie Mae loan with a 15-year term, and 8 years of it, 8 years is interest only. So it's 10% cash on cash year 2, high 9s year 1, double digit cash on cash by year 2. That's what we need to see in order to have these kind of longer term plays.
Got you. Are you outsourcing property management, or are you guys handling that?
We are. We're using a third party who my business partner has had a working relationship with the owners of that company for, a decade or so. Also, they own some property, some apartments in the kind of general vicinity of where this 53 unit is. I would call ours a pretty strong B+ asset, and their asset kind of a C-. So there's no concern of triaging tenants differently, because they attract just different people. But we have a strong working relationship with them, and until we get to a large enough footprint, we'll continue to work third party.
Okay. So you are looking at eventually do vertical integration?
Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, we want to see at least call it 500 plus units. And if we're taking these buildings down 50 at a time, it's going to be a bit before we get there.
Yeah. No, I hear you. No, and it's all about the long-term game, not, it's not a get quick rich scheme. So, you inspire a lot of women. So what do you have to say to any other woman out there as far as hey, this is something you can get into, and you can, make your name in it. What would you have to tell them?
What's funny is like literally the second before this call, I jumped over from a woman who is a big time badass luxury broker for real estate. And she has always dreamed about investing in real estate. And these ideas of, I just can't do that. And I don't have the money and I don't have the time. That's bullshit. That's complete BS. That's all mindset, right? Like those are all these like limiting beliefs that you've just made this decision in your head that this is something that you can't do. And you know what? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So I'm telling you, the minute you get around people that are doing the stuff that you want to do, someone that looks like you, someone that, it comes from a background like yours. I'm a farm kid from a town of 800 people. So if you ever need a bale hay, I got you. So, I mean, I'm not special in any way. I just refuse to believe that I can't figure it out. And I'm here to tell you that male, female, black, white, purple, you can figure it out if you put your mind to it.
Yeah. Okay. No, that I completely agree and resonate with that. I think coming as a Latino into this, into syndication, very few of us. And when I do bump into a few, I'm like, yay.
You know what, though? I'll tell you, like, I had this epiphany like 2 years ago, like about a year into kind of going pro on multifamily stuff, that, I can either choose to look at this as like my Achilles heel, this thing that holds me back, or I can use it as my competitive advantage. Like I'm one of the, there's not a ton of women in commercial real estate investing, and I get to be one. So when people think women in commercial real estate, the chances of them thinking about Mandy McAllister are, bigger than if they were, if I were one of many. Do you know what I mean? One of like all of the white dudes that are doing this stuff. So in order to, use this as a competitive advantage, people do mailers. I actually happen to have this right here. So I don't know if you put this on YouTube, but I did my mailer of, my baby picking his nose, and it says, when it comes time to sell your apartment building, pick us. And we called ourselves the cash flow moms. And the idea is people will remember that,
That is great marketing right there. I love that.
Thank you. So how do you take whatever is your quote unquote disadvantage and make it your competitive advantage?
Oh man, I love that. I really do. That's great stuff right there. And then I think for the sake of time, because I know we're both unlimited, but we're gonna have to just tell the audience where they can find you and reach you.
Yeah, sure. So because my interests are so widely variant, with aspiring women, with investing, with all kinds of stuff, I started MandyMcAllister.com. The easiest place to see all the weird stuff I'm into is there. So
awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, and for all the listeners out there, go ahead and leave us another 5-star review, give us some feedback, and shoot us a message. Anything you want to talk about, we're available, and we're out.